Hello, this is Matthew Jackson, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Jackson's Journal. Today, I want to talk to you about what an evangelical is, the definition of an evangelical. What makes an evangelical Christian? How are evangelicals different than other Christian denominations like Roman Catholic and your mainline Protestant denominations like Episcopal, Lutheran, Methodist, Presbyterian, and so forth. So that's what I want to talk to you about. What brought this on is I was in a Facebook, and still am in a Facebook discussion with a brother, and we're having this discussion in the difference between what the definition of an evangelical, and the brother that I'm engaging with on Facebook. He is citing the National Association of Evangelical website and using their definition of what an evangelical is. The problem I have with the NAE's definition of evangelicals, what they've done is they've taken Protestantism and they've taken evangelicalism and they've mixed the two together and blurred the line and blurred the differences between the two. That's the mistake, I think, that the National Association of Evangelicals has gone wrong. There is a profound difference between Protestantism and evangelicalism. Now, there are two things that both share in common. And I think that's the reason a lot of people may confuse the two. They both believe that you're saved by grace and through grace alone, and you're not saved through your works. So they share that one thing in common. And they both believe in the authority of the scriptures and the infallibility and the authority of the scriptures. But then after that, there are some very profound differences between the two. Now, I spent some time studying Roman Catholicism, and one thing that Roman Catholic Church teaches is that in order to be a Protestant, the denomination has to be a direct descendant of the Catholic Church. For example, the Anglican Church was once Catholic. They broke away when King Henry VIII divorced his wife, and it became the Anglican Church, okay? Martin Luther was a Roman Catholic. He broke away and formed the Lutheran Church. And of course, John Knox, the Presbyterians, and of course the Methodists were a descendant of the Anglican or Episcopal churches. So in order to be considered a Protestant denomination from the point of view of the Roman Catholics, you have to be a church or a denomination that directly broke away from the Catholic Church. So therefore, they do not recognize Baptists, Pentecostals, Charismatics, fundamentalist Bibleist churches, and holiness churches as Protestants. They recognize them as evangelicals, but not as Protestants. So just to give you another perspective on how the Roman Catholics look at it. Now, one of the most notable and obvious differences between evangelicals and your mainline Protestants is how they view baptism. The Protestants, like the Roman Catholics, baptize their babies by sprinkling them, okay? In the evangelical denominations, they subscribe to total immersion of the believer once he has reached an age where they can decide for themselves whether or not they want to be a follower of Christ. So that's the big difference. Immersion, baptism by immersion by the evangelicals, and sprinkling by the Protestants. Now, there are other distinctions. Vestments. The clergy in the Protestant denominations typically wear clerical collars, typically wear robes during the service. Evangelicals typically don't wear clerical collars and don't wear robes. So that's another distinction. Service formats. In the Protestant denominations, they have a more formalized liturgy. than do the evangelicals. Also, in their liturgy, in the liturgy of the Protestants, they usually confess an historic creed like the Apostles' Creed, the Nicene Creed, the Athenian Creed, one of the historic creeds. Evangelicals typically do not confess the historical creeds. And like I said, the evangelicals do have a liturgy in their services. It's just not as detailed and formal as the Catholics and mainline Protestants. Another distinction between evangelicals and Protestants is the architecture of their churches. Go inside their sanctuary. In an evangelical church, the baptistry is usually in the back, and it's a big tank. And the pulpit is in the center of the stage of the church. In a mainline denominational Protestant Catholic church, the pulpit where the preaching is done is off to the side, and the altar is at the center. And they also have the little baptismal fountain somewhere around there where they sprinkle their babies when they baptize. So the architecture, there's a big difference in the architecture of the church. So those are just some of the distinctions that the National Association of Evangelicals is overlooking. They just want to have one broad brush and say that all evangelicals are this way, and it's not necessarily so. Another thing, politically, your mainline Protestant denominations now tend to be liberal. Many of them will ordain women and homosexuals. Many of them are pro-abortion, so where your evangelicals, now evangelicals will ordain women, some evangelical denominations will. The Baptist and fundamentalist churches typically don't, but they're typically pro-life and against abortion. So those are some basic differences between an evangelical and a mainline Protestant. And I hope this teaching that I've outlined for you now gives you a better definition of what an evangelical is. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jackson's Journal, and watch some of the other videos on the playlist that I've prepared for you. Thank you for watching, and God bless.